His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Adamawa State, Right Honorable Governor Fintiri, very well represented by my friend and elder brother, Dr. Amos Sunday, Honorable Commissioners here present, members, distinguished heads of parastatals and government agencies, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I count it a great privilege to be one of the guest speakers. Sorry, I would like to recognize the presence of our guest speakers here. Please permit me. I would like to also stand on already established protocols and courtesies. I count it a great privilege to stand before you this morning to make a presentation on national, international key performance indicators and how that the government of Adamawa State has performed in the last 5 years that His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Adamawa State, has been spearheading recent, remarkable, and well commendable projects in Adamawa State. My topic, sustaining Adamawa State's strategic role in enhancing national development, will be composed of 3 different components. First and foremost, I would like to look at the international key performance indicators through which governments are rated internationally and nationally. I will look at these key performance indicators as domesticated in the national economy and how that the performance of the Executive Governor of Adamawa State has improved in enhancing the key performance indicators at the national level. So then I will try to provide you with the performance of His Excellency in terms of economics. I'll look at the economy of the different sectors that I'll look at that measures the key performance indicators we're talking about. I will also discuss quite a lot of factors and performance indices that are referred to as transformative and based on which the governor has received several accolades and awards. And we'll compare the performance of the governor's key performance indicators to that of the national level. And then I'll provide you with the reasons or what strategies have been put in place by the government and administration of Adamawa State to achieve these results. And then I'll provide you the impact that this result has basically on human development index, which has been considered the most important of all the KPIs. Then I'll provide you with the challenges that the government is facing and work recommendations as a development economics and a leadership scholar that government will look into to sustain this performance. So in the introduction, you will see the overview. The population of Adamawa State is 4.9 million as of 2021, with a land area of 36.9 square kilometers. And the key occupation of Adamawa indigenes is agriculture. Administratively, it is administered, in 21 local government areas, and the tribes are over 78. Can you proceed, please? Who is? All right. So the roles of the key performance indicators and policies in governance and the importance of key performance indicators in governance include measurement of performance. Like I mentioned earlier on, that key performance indicators are tools that are used to rate and measure government performance. One of the roles that also plays, out on KPIs, accountability and transparency. improved decision-making, resource allocation, public trust and confidence. Go ahead. Guidance and framework for action, consistency and stability, legal and regulatory foundation, public service delivery, adaptation, and responsiveness. All these are the roles of KPIs in governance. Go ahead. Now, the complementary role board plays or factors play in governance by KPIs are the KPIs help evaluate policy effectiveness. The success of every policy can be assessed using KPIs, providing data on how well the policy is achieving its intended outcomes. And then the policies set the direction for KPIs. Policies outline the goals and objectives that need to be achieved, while KPIs provide the concrete measures of progress toward those goals. Let me take you back to what I said earlier on. Very important. Key performance indicators are the tools that are used in measuring the performance of every government. And these are tools that are used in rating every government, both nationally and internationally. Now, policies set the framework, I said, and KPIs assess whether the goals are being met or not. Now, if a government promises or promised you from the beginning that it's going to have this done, and then the best way to measure the performance of this government is through the measurement of the key performance indicators that are outlined. Now, in international practice, we talk about international development KPIs in focus. Here, we talk about the gross domestic product. We talk about the gross domestic product per capita, the Human Development Index, poverty levels, foreign direct investments, and internally generated revenue. Now, a government is assessed and rated internationally based on the factors that I've just provided, on the screen. Now, gross domestic product or GDP that we call it, as referred to, is a total value of all goods and services an economy can generate in a specific period of time. It shows how big and active the economy is. So if you've been hearing about gross domestic product all over the place, these are the total value of goods and services a government can generate within a specific period of time. And this is one of the most important key performance indicators, both internationally and nationally. Now, in Adamawa State, when the governor came into office in 2019, the Adamawa State gross domestic product was $3.8 billion. That was the baseline measurement when he assumed office. In the last 5 years, he has moved this figure to $6.59 billion. That is a very huge achievement. What that translates to is that he has moved the production of goods and services from 3.8 billion naira to about 6.59 billion naira, which represents about 87%. This is a very huge achievement that the governor has made in terms of gross domestic product. Now, gross domestic product per capita, that means the value of goods and services generated by an individual in Adamawa State. In 2019, one individual could generate $833 per annum. Now, he has been able to move this to $968 per person per annum. Why is this so? Population has increased considerably from 2019 to 2023. And despite the increase in population, he has been able to move the production capacity of an individual from $833 per annum to $968 per annum. And this is a very tremendous achievement by His Excellency, the Governor of Adamawa State. And this he achieved through agriculture. I think we should give him a very big round of applause. Now, please go back to that slide. I'd like to compare the performance of the Governor of Adamawa State and the performance of the national government. Please go back. Now, you realize that You look at the map of Adamawa State there, is carrying 33%, and the map of Nigeria is carrying 2%. What that translates to is this. In 2019, the governor has moved the gross domestic product by 73% in the last 5 years. But the national government has only achieved 2% in terms of growth in gross domestic product. So the difference, this partial difference you're seeing, which is about 69%, is a huge difference. What that means is that Adamawa State alone has contributed not less than about 5% in terms of gross domestic product growth at the national level. And this is achieved through agriculture, through construction, through health, and of course through mining and quite a lot of other sectors of the economy that Adamawa State, is found, practicing in. So this is a major achievement. Nationally, it grew by 2%. Adamawa State, it grew by 73%. A very huge performance indeed. Now, the Human Development Index, we refer to as the Human Capital Index, is an aggregate of different aspects of human life. Now, here it is grouped into health, education, and the standard of living. Under the standard of living, we have food security, we have poverty levels, we have unemployment, and quite a lot of other factors that impact on Human Development Index. And then the other factors are education and health. Now, the importance of Human Development Index is it shows development beyond just money. Now, because the lifespan of individual is involved, the health of the individual is involved, education is involved, employment is involved, poverty is involved, food security is involved, livelihoods are involved. So these are very important aggregate factors that accounts for what we refer to as the Human Development Index. Now, it helps compare progress between countries and regions. Now, if you want to compare how well the citizens of every country are faring, or the indigenes of every state are faring, you have to compare the Human Development Index of the citizens of one state and the other, or you compare the Human Development Index of the citizens of one country to the other, or from one state and the other. Now, it focuses on improving the quality of life for everyone that I mentioned earlier on. So, the Human Development Index of Adamawa State, I'll show you, move ahead, how it has progressed under the administration of Right Honorable Morris Vunobolki. When he came in 2019, the Human Development Index was 0.5. In 2020, it increased to 0.518. This is huge in terms of percentage. In 2021, it goes to 0.534. In 2022, it goes to 0.539. You can see a spontaneous trend and a growth in terms of the Human Development Index of an individual in Adamawa State. Now, regional averages. In regional average referred to as the Northeast. Northeast and other Lake Chad countries that surrounds the Northeast, including Cameroon, including the Chad, Niger Republic, and Central African Republic. Now, these are all regional, settlements. Now, regional average in 2019 was 0.545% when the governor came in. Now, it also increased a little to 0.458, 0.463, 0.467. These are trends that also show some increase. But if you compare the rate at which Adamawa State HDI increases, you realize that it has a significant impact on the regional growth pattern of the HDI in the northeastern region and across the boundaries of Lake Chad countries. Now, please go back there. I want to compare it with that of the national index. Please, can you go back? No, please, back to. All right. Now, you see the national HDI stands at 0.548. Adamawa HDI stands at 0.539. What that means is that if you compare the poverty rate in the northern part of Nigeria, and that exists in the southern part of Nigeria. The southern part of Nigeria seems to be doing very well and would have covered up for the poverty rate of the northern states. Despite that, the national level has an HDI of 0.548 compared to that of Adamawa State, 0.539. That means Adamawa State has an average rate of HDI across Nigeria. This is a very commendable effort put in by the governor to bring life, existence, and livelihoods, to its citizens. Now, internationally, Switzerland has the highest, rate of the Human Development Index, which stands at 0.967. Now, only 2 states above in the northeast are above 0.5, and these states are Adamawa and Taraba states, because Taraba states is also involved in quite a lot of agricultural activities. So, compared to other states in northern Nigeria, Adamawa state seems to be doing pretty well in terms of Human Development Index, which represents Human Capital Index. Now, if you look at the poverty levels, this is one of the key parameters through which we measured the Human Development Index. I just want to provide you with an instance. You realize why the index increased on this pattern. Now, Adamawa State poverty levels at 2019, according to World Bank reports, stood at 79.4% when the governor came in. Now, in the last 5 years, the governor has reduced this poverty rate to 74.4%, which represents about 500 basis points. We call 5%. This is a huge improvement he has embarked upon. Now, I'm going to provide you with how he achieved these results, where I present to you what he has done and the investments in state assets that has resulted to this improvement. Now, at the national level, poverty rate in 2019 was 38%. But 2024, poverty rate in the national level has increased to 56%. Now, while that of Adamawa State is coming down, the national poverty rate is going up. Now, imagine if Adamawa State has not achieved this increase that has slowed down the rate at which Nigerians become poorer. The Nigerian poverty rate would have probably increased to about 60% if Adamawa has not contributed to a growth of 5%. What that means is that Adamawa State has done quite a great job to stabilize poverty levels in Nigeria and to further slow its growth pattern in Nigeria. This is a very commendable impact being made by the governor, and it needs an applause from you people. Now, foreign direct investments is also one of the most important key performance indicators that will measure, the performance of a government at the national and state level. Like I mentioned earlier on, because you cannot have foreigners investing in your state or country if there's no stability, if there's no peace, if there's no social and critical infrastructure. Something must have to invite them to invest in your country or in your state. Now, in 2023, only 6 states in Nigeria got foreign direct investments. Adamawa State is one of the 6 states that got that FDI. A round of applause for the governor of Adamawa State. Now, Adamawa State received $4.5 million as foreign direct investment in the health sector in Adamawa State. Out of 6 states that got this, now the Japanese wouldn't have invested $4.5 million in Adamawa State if there was no stability, if there was no adequate security, if there was no critical infrastructure in terms of transport, in terms of water supply, and quite a lot of other factors that would have responsible to invite foreign, investors into the state. So it is a very key achievement that the governor has made in the last 5 years for a state to have garnered this amount of money by way of foreign direct investments. Is a big plus for the state and should be rated as doing pretty well in terms of governance. Now, internally generated revenues of government. When the governor came in, the total internally generated revenue stood at 9.7 billion naira annually. Now you see a trend. Because he's been able to establish policies that have worked towards enhancing the revenues of government through his own state policy strategy. Now, for these results to be achieved, government would have done quite a lot in terms of fiscal policies that encourages people to pay their taxes, encourage people to come out and for them to be assessed to pay taxes. Now, because of that, government has witnessed an increase of IGR in 2019, 9.7, 2022, 13.1 billion annually, 2023, 17 billion naira. So he has achieved 75% growth from 2019 to 2024. This is a huge increase. This is a huge performance in terms of internally generated revenue and in terms of stability, and peace. Now, please, can you go ahead? Who is working the slides? Now, I have provided you with the impacts of the governor's performance, both, on the people of Adamawa State and to the national level at large. Now, I'd like to give you reasons why he impacted that much and what strategic investments he's made in state assets that's responsible for making this impact, at the national level and at the state level at the same time. So, factors responsible for achieving those results. In 2022, government spending shifted towards capital expenditure by 58.3% to 38 billion naira from 24 billion naira in 2021. What does that mean? Now, government has strategically, under Right Honorable Morris Fintiri, moved expenditures in recurrent expenses. That is, spendings that cannot be seen in terms of asset. He has shifted that by almost 58%. That is spending on nothing to spending on something. And that is why he has been able to achieve quite a lot in terms of the transport economy, health economy, education economy. Instead of giving people money for stomach infrastructure, he has moved the money and put into the transport economy, providing good roads, quality education through schools, quality healthcare centers through hospitals and primary healthcare centers. This is a very, very strategic thing he has done. And this thing he's done is what is responsible for the increase in the Human Development Index that I showed before this presentation. Now, it has also showed the readiness of government to invest in sustainable long-term infrastructure assets than on short-term fixed assets. Now, quite a lot of time I hear critics talking about why is the governor building roads, building flyovers? Why is he investing so much, on this? As a development economist and an expert, I'll tell you why. Now, the cost of building 1 kilometer of road now is 1 billion naira. 1.1 billion naira will build 1 kilometer of road now. In the next 10 years, the cost of building 1 kilometer of road, if compounded, will amount to about 10 billion naira. Now, if the governor does not invest 1 billion naira now, government must invest 10 billion naira in the next 10 years to build 1 kilometer of roads. And because of the dwindling nature of the resources of government will not be able to build 1 kilometer of roads for 10 billion naira in the next 10 years. So if he does not build that now, he has to invite, or any government in future must have to invite private investors to build roads. And after building the roads, they will institute what we call the toll gates and collect charges for using their roads. Now, if you go to Lagos, there is currently a bridge that links Lekki to Ikoyi. That bridge is a PPP bridge. That is public-private partnership bridge. Now, you have to pay, if you have to be in a fast lane to come to Ikoyi from Lekki, you have to pay toll fees to ply that bridge. Now, not everybody will just drive on that bridge. You must pay money to ply that bridge. Now, what does it come to? Assuming that in the next 10 years, government tells you that for you to ply this overhead or for you to ply these bridges that he's built, you have to pay money to do that. I'm sure you're going to face quite a lot of challenges, going to face quite a lot of criticisms. So it is strategic for the governor to build these assets right now that the costs are not that overwhelming than to wait for the next 10 years for private investors to come and build and charge our citizens for using the roads. So when people criticize governor for building this gigantic, transport infrastructure, they are short-sighted in terms of development practice. And as a development expert and practitioner, I can tell you that it is better for us to invest right now than to wait for the next 10 years when we're not able to invest that, and then we become very stagnant and not able to do that. And if any private investor comes in to build these roads and flyover bridges for us, we have to pay to use these bridges. So this is a very fundamental strategy of government to invest in assets like this, and that is what has actually been moving our indices in terms of key performance, to higher heights, even much more than we have at the national level. So now let's look at the security. I talk about security as one of the key performance indicators, that will invite investments, investors from abroad. That also brings about stability, brings about, livelihoods. When the governor came into office 2019, look at the indices. The security incident data highlights a significant decline in reported incidents over the period under review. 140 indices concentrated along the northern zone, sparsely around the central zone. 144 indices reported. By 2023-2024, it has reduced to only 88 indices. That is a big achievement, and this reflects a marked improvement in security conditions across the state. Now, accessibility, pattern of these locations, you could see they were reading red before. Red. Now they've come back to be reading a bit amberish. What that means is that all the locations in Adamawa State are now accessible without any form of security. That means farmers can go back to their farms and farm. Farmers in livestock can go and rear their livestock. People can go back to the means of livelihood to invest. And that is why you have quite a lot of improvement in terms of agriculture, in terms of other economy that adds to our gross domestic product that we talk about that has increased from that level to the other level. Now, timely investments in infrastructure, early commitments to investment in state assets, e.g. roads and transport economy. Like I mentioned earlier on, 1 kilometer of full asphalt road in 2019 was going for 210 million naira per 1 kilometer. Now it is going for 1 billion naira as a result of the devaluation in our currency. Imagine what will happen in the next 10 years. This is just 5 years. In the next 10 years, this is likely to triple. So it is possible that 1 kilometer of road in the next 10 years will cost about 10 billion naira to construct, in which case government might not be able to achieve that without the intervention of the private sector investors. And once they come in, you pay for every bit of what they've invested because they're here for profits. Now, these are some impactful sectoral investments that the governor has embarked upon to make sure that the Human Development Index has gone up, poverty levels have been reduced, child mortality rate reduced, unemployment rate reduced, security of livelihoods and lives quietly stabilized. Government has embarked on construction of new cottage hospitals, new primary healthcare centers, construction of a World Trauma Center at General Hospital Mobi, innovation and upgrade of existing facilities, supply of drugs, furniture, and consumables to health facilities, construction of other kind of investments in the health sector that have contributed largely to the reduction of the mother and child mortality rates in Adamawa State. Now, in agriculture, there are massive investments in mini-mechanized farming equipment, distribution of improved seeds and inputs, resuscitation of moribund irrigation projects like in Margar, in Dwam, and other areas, international cattle market in Mobi, and the creation of Ministry of Livestock and Aquaculture to play a major role in the growth of the agricultural, basis of Adamawa State. In education, he has done quite a lot of upgrades of schools. In job creation, he has empowered over 60,000 beneficiaries of Fintiri Wallet scheme, 35,000 labor-intensive public works, thousands of artisans engaged at Fintiri Estates, new shopping complex, and other infrastructure projects across the state. All these are things that have contributed to the results he has achieved, that I've mentioned earlier on. So, some existing policies the government has in place that has helped in that. We have the Adamawa State Social Protection Policy. We have the Adamawa State Food Nutrition Policy, the Adamawa State Citizen Engagement and Participatory Planning Policy, the Adamawa Social and Gender-Based Violence Policy, the Adamawa Durable Solutions Policy, the Adamawa State Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law, and the Adamawa State Climate Change Policy. These are policies that the governor has put in place to ensure that a lot of remarkable achievements were made and recorded in terms of the Human Development Index that we talk about. Now, under the new economy policy, we have the Adamawa State Information Technology Development Agency bill, which has currently been passed into law. This will build a robust ICT infrastructure, advancing digital skills training, and improving the overall business environments in Adamawa State. Now, let me quickly go into the challenges. Now, there's absence of reliable data for effective decision making. Now, the governor has done quite a lot in terms of investments, but these are underreported because we do not have an adequate database that will capture all that he has done in the different sectors and economies of the state. It is a very big challenge. His performance is grossly underreported. I will enjoin the Chief of Staff to note this very importantly, to make sure that Adamawa State has a database that tracks and records every achievement of the governor, throughout the time that he has been serving as governor. Now, continuous devaluation of the Nigerian currency is one of the problems of person at the moment. Inflation has been rising as a result of that. This is a major challenge for the government to be able to do quite a lot, or much more than it's doing currently. And then we have the inadequate capacity within the workforce to manage state assets and investments. I talked about the government and administration of Adamawa State. Government structures refers to the political structures of government. Administration refers to the bureaucratic structures of government. So while the government is working and have the political will to invest upon these assets, the civil servants, the workforce, should be provided with the adequate knowledge to manage investment being brought into place by the political structures. And this is very, very important. So I've already talked about how to find solutions to these problems. And then we also need to create development policies that will synchronize with the existing development plans. We currently have the Adamawa State Development Plan, but we do not have the Adamawa State Development Policy that will synchronize the plans to make sure that we achieve results. Thank you very much, and God bless you.